Alright. Beach Boys! Episode, I don't even know anymore.
12?
Yeah, I think 12. I think we're at 12.
Yeah.
So, but we're chilling today.
Season 2.
Season 2, yeah. I think this is going to be the beginning of our Season 2 premiere. And got a little interesting show for you guys today. You know, we're chilling, hanging out this weekend. And we decided for this show, we're going to drink a 6-pack here. And, yeah, just start off the whole show. We're going to try and finish the whole 6-pack. It's nothing much, but, you know, be a little fun. So, and we're also going to drink them out of our new Beach Boys cups.
Oh, yeah.
Check that out. So,
if you want one of these, let us know. We might try and sell them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
So,
a shitty pour in here.
let us know. But we're going to be talking about Bitcoin maximalism today.
Yeah.
Which is...
relatively controversial.
It shouldn't be.
Well, yeah. Shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
So we thought we'd start... You know, we just did the interview with Vin. We had Vin on and had a discussion about the Miner's Choice initiatives and then maybe just in general his thoughts as an app developer and picking chains to develop on, I guess. And the topic came up of him being coin agnostic is the word he's used in tweets. He pretty much confirmed that. And you're not going to pick on Vin because I think what he's saying is fair. If I'm someone who wants to make profit, then there's
a management of risk.
At this stage in the game, you're not sure who's
Right.
going to win. So why would you not incorporate all the cryptocurrencies that you can, right?
Right.
And in his case, he says CoinText is something you can build on Dash very easily. So from his perspective, adding in Dash would be trivial. Okay? So I get that, right? But we need to talk about why would you be a Bitcoin maximalist and what are the benefits, what are the cons, if any. We can start with, I guess, so we'll start with the thing I want to talk about the least. We'd probably talk about the least.
Yeah.
An investment. Okay? So why would you be a Bitcoin maximalist with respect to your investment? This is something Vin did bring up. He said that he said if he had his life savings, he would hedge it across 20 different coins, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that seems like a pretty risky play.
So I think he said 20.
Right.
But, and I don't want to take his word for 20 because I think 20 is a little bit extreme. But I think he did get that kind of out that he obviously would like to spread his wealth in a couple different coins. Now, in terms of management of risk, that's what we've seen. That's a traditional risk management approach. Is hedging between multiple things, which kind of defeats, well, is this an investment then or not?
Right.
You know, which is kind of, I think, what you're trying to get at.
And I think the other thing is that we have a very short-term perspective as to how does that work.
Right.
Because the altcoin market is a product of the failures of Bitcoin. Really, is what it is.
Yeah.
The altcoin market...
People disagree with that a lot, but I
and we'll talk about that,
yeah.
right? We'll go into that maybe a little bit more in depth. Let's just get this annoying part of the way, the investment part, right? If you had invested in specific altcoins in the past 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. There are a few that you would have outperformed Bitcoin, probably, right? Now, the only reason why I want to get that out of the way first is because I think everything else we're going to talk about is why do we view Bitcoin Cash, which is Bitcoin, as the safest investment that you can make and not take it away from I'm investing in something, but put it into what can grow in value the most, right? Mm-hmm. Why to you is Bitcoin a more valuable... Why do you think it will grow in value the most moving forward.
So the reason I think the main utility that everyone likes to talk about is its killer app is cash. And for Bitcoin Cash to succeed, Bitcoin to succeed, it has to be used as a global currency. Now, I don't think that I don't think it can be geek money, nerd money. There's going to be a point where the reward is going to get so diminished where in order to keep the fees low, it has to be used at such a high rate in order for it to succeed. That's where I'm kind of like, for it to succeed, it has to be used as a global currency long term. That's the only way that I see this thing riding out.
Right.
And that's why you kind of have to pick, well, who do you think's going to make it that long term then? Like, who is going to be the one true one to succeed? Because they're all going to have end games, I think.
Well, that's the question. Will there only be one in the end? Okay? So this gets into some interesting topics, I think, right? So actually the argument that you hear from people like Samson Mao, people like, I think Blockstream in general, this is their business model, is to build the Lightning Network and allow all these digital assets, because blockchains obviously can't scale, that's an accepted fact, it's impossible for them to scale, you need to have all these different blockchains that can be interoperable, right? Mm-hmm. Now, have you ever traveled international? Have you traveled internationally?
A little bit.
Canada. So
not much.
So if you travel internationally, the biggest problem that you run into is you have to swap for the local currency.
Right.
That is something that we accept as fact today, right? And something I've heard a few people talk about, but in Africa, for example, you can actually go down the street and pay with like 6 different currencies, and you have to keep track of all the different.
To me, that just doesn't. It's not.
It's not an optimal solution, right? And maybe it's something we're used to today because we are so used to local, government fiat currencies, right? But to me, the valuable thing about Bitcoin is that I can if this takes off as a global currency, I can go to Thailand, I can go to China, I can go to Canada, I can go to Iceland, one wallet and pay, right?
Right.
That's the dream. That is the goal here. That is what we want to achieve, right? Mm-hmm. Now, having to juggle different assets from a user perspective could be a problem. I can understand this is what they think. They think that you're going to have, I'm going to go with my wallet. You take Ether. I have Bitcoin. There will be some kind of built-in UX system where we atomic swap right there on the bat, right?
Which I think is kind of why do we even need that then at that point? It's all if that does get built in, it's all pretty much the same. Then why do we even call each one?
Why would you want to have that? Why would you want to have that?
Well, I think that's also an incredibly inflationary system too.
Exactly. It allows any single power, that be, whatever they are, to inflate an asset, tie it to Bitcoin, and now you destroy Bitcoin scarcity, right? Immediately.
Exactly, yeah.
And I have no problem with atomic swaps, but it should all be, if our goal is to create new sound money, the goal should be to put it all under Bitcoin. So I'm okay with Dash experimentation. I'm okay with Ether experimentation. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with, Potcoin, Dennis Rodman, right? Do whatever you want. I don't care, right? But build it under Bitcoin so that you are building it under sound hard money, right?
Yeah.
And the question becomes now, obviously, I think we have 2 problems, okay? Mm-hmm. Number one, Bitcoin maximalism wasn't a controversial thing in 2013, for example, right? Bitcoin was the thing, right?
Right.
Being a Bitcoin maximalist only became controversial when the narrative of we can't scale this perpetuated.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because not only can we scale it, and this is something we talked about very much in depth last night, the argument that I think you could very, very easily make at this point is that Bitcoin is a revolutionary network upon which entirely new applications can be built.
Yeah.
And if it's an economical network, if it's a financial network, the possibilities are literally endless as to what we can do. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She got pretty dead last night. Yeah.
So if you get rid of the investment part, let's move on. I don't care about the investment. I am in this because this is what I want to do. This is what we want to do. We want to build this system because we think it provides more inherent value to people. Okay?
Right.
The reason why I'm a Bitcoin maximalist is because that network can only work, like you said, if it's built as a global currency where enough velocity is going through it,
right,
that the mining reward having works.
Yeah.
Right?
And that timetable, I'm not saying that it has to succeed within the next year, you know. I think that within the next 7 years, I think we should have something pretty robust by 7 years if this experiment is going to succeed. Because it still is an experiment, in a way. I mean...
Sure, yeah. But there's also...
I'm buying in, but it is, in terms of the whole globe and everything, and it as a global currency, it's still in the experimental phase.
Right. And I think there's a greater... I actually think that there needs to be a greater sense of urgency on the Bitcoin Cash side.
Right.
Than what I think we're still very used to the core, slow-moving... well, we should test this out, and we should... I'm not saying do the most risky thing ever. Right?
Yeah.
But this idea of, well, we need to test it and maybe wait 6 months and... No. Like, I actually side with Craig Wright very much where he said, this needs to happen now. Like, we need to stop. I think there's a lot of, like... And this kind of goes back to what Vin was saying a little bit in the show. Fine. Let the free market work it out. But it has to... You have to do it...
smoothly. Like,
let
he
the
doesn't
free market
want...
work it out, but I don't care. If that creates the better term long term... Yeah, but that's the point. We need to create the most robust thing now. It has to start happening now.
Exactly.
Right? We can't hold it back for, sorry, but a city in New Hampshire. Okay? We can't, like, I was a little offended by that insinuation. Look, this is what we're trying to do. This is what we're trying to build. We're trying to get this adopted. Right? Yeah. That needs to happen today. It needs to happen today.
Right.
And
you got to start educating the people that don't necessarily understand it. The rest of and I've talked to you a little bit about this, the rest of the cryptocurrency community, if they hate Bitcoin Cash, that's fine. Go ahead. You do your Ripple project, Ethereum project. I don't care. I think what we need to start doing is we need to start actually going after the people that actually need it. And the people that haven't even heard of cryptocurrency before. Right. That's the market that we should be trying to get to. The people that can actually use this stuff in their daily lives, you know? Everyone that's in another cryptocurrency right now is just kind of like, oh, this is cool, you know?
Right.
But, like, this needs to be a monetary system that gets developed. And kind of going back to the inflationary aspect of having all these other different cryptocurrencies, that's not even a free market in itself, I would say, because you all of a sudden have people that can build value out of nothing.
Yep.
You can build scam coins out of nothing. That don't actually have value. You put in very little work, and you all of a sudden get, we could call it Beach Boys coin, and the value goes up in it, and we're the only people that use it, but there's some kind of an exchange rate, and we can just mine the hell out of it. Like, we can literally just mine 1 million coins of it, because we control everything of that protocol.
And we just have to have a white paper full of buzzwords.
Exactly.
And it becomes a speculative asset.
Exactly. Like, there's no free market in terms of actually contributing real qualitative, like, skills to
utility.
Something. Utility, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the problem I have with, like, everyone's like, okay, well, it is free market. Everyone's allowed to use whatever coin that they want. And, you know, I understand that. But you also, in a free market, you have to actually produce something of quality to succeed.
Yeah.
So you have to create value.
And I think that takes us to a very nice transition into why Bitcoin. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And something that we're working on, this is something that we'll do something pretty in-depth on, and I'm looking forward to kind of covering it. It needs to be given its full attention, is the robustness of Bitcoin, okay? The robustness of the network, and that extends across multiple areas, okay? So the first obvious example, and this is something that, let's get this part out of the way. I want to talk about 2 areas of robustness, okay? Number 1, the robustness of the network itself. Is the network capable of being, Sybil attacked? Is it capable of being, from a technical perspective, is the network robust?
Hmm.
Further, is it robust from being shut down? Okay? So, this is what we talked about again last night. We talked about a lot of things last night.
Yeah.
Now, Ether, okay? Ether, the SEC, right, just announced this week that Ethereum does not look like a security in their eyes because it is decentralized enough, right? The Howey test, you talked about
third party is decentralized enough, which the Howey test says nothing about decentralized third parties. And the SEC also said that they wouldn't accommodate ICOs and cryptocurrencies to the current regulations that they have right now. And to me, the fact that they came out and said that the third party is decentralized enough, to me, that sounds like you're accommodating for crypto, which I'm fine with if you say that, but it's contradicting what they said.
And they're not a judge, right? They're not
right. They're an agency. So I guess everyone kind of, will say that everyone sees the SEC as a one all party that they enforce everything. They're just a private agency that contributes their work and
suggestions, right?
It's more of a.
And so even if they say this now, it's just as likely that something could go to court and Ethereum could be ruled a security, right? That's technically possible, right? In the case of something like Dash, a lot of evidence that Dash could be labeled a security. Now, this is something that we should make very clear. We're both free market guys, right? Mm-hmm. I have actually no problem with something like Dash existing. I don't have a problem with ICOs. I don't have a problem. I actually think something like an ICO, while it has contributed to a ton of scams and all that kind of stuff, I think because markets work, in the long run, there will be ICO, rating boards, right?
I've thought about this a lot too. Like, there's more private agencies too. Like, maybe not one private agency too. You have multiple SECs. So that if one's corrupt, you at least have another one. So that as long as the communication is set amongst all that,
and this happens,
that this is legitimate or not,
right? And that happens in multiple industries, right? Private companies rating, you want the seal of approval from this private organization because they're the best at, right? So I have no problem with ICOs. I have no problem with Dash, anything like that. But this is something Satoshi was very, 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 either willingly or not, able to skirt around. And Bitcoin itself was created in a very specific way that it cannot be shut down by legal precedent of security. So, is the government going to shut Dash down? No. And by the government, I don't care which one I'm talking about. It could be any country across the globe.
Right. We focus on the U.S., but I mean, it really could be any.
So let's talk about what robustness means in that respect. If I'm Dash right now, am I going to get shut down today? Is it going to be declared illegal in the United States today? No, probably not. Is it going to be declared illegal in the next 2 years? Maybe not. But if the legal precedent exists for the government
could be
to say this falls under this regulatory framework, therefore we can now do this and this and this and this and this, is it actually robust? I would argue it is a failure from the start, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it has to be a failure from the start because if everything that gets built below that can now be enveloped by a legal precedent established prior, it is automatically not robust.
Well, I think that goes into some of the misconceptions that I think people have about the cryptocurrency market in general too, because they think everything that is going on outside of this. I've stepped outside of the legal realm to make this Dash transaction, which you have. But let's say, for example, you go to New Hampshire, you make a Dash transaction. If Dash is illegal there, you you get in trouble. You get in trouble. And I mean, having that kind of power that you could get arrested for it. Now, I get it. You could be standing up for it, Maybe you do go to prison. Maybe you try and make a point that I used Dash and I got arrested for it. That is completely another argument. The fact that you have to go to prison, though, because you do that, that is where it has its impact.
We're not welcoming regulation. We're not welcoming shut Dash down, right? Like
I want to be clear.
It's just a statement that
it could.
Exactly.
They're like hypotheticals.
If the point is to, and it doesn't have to be shut down. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be shut down. If it is then placed under a legal framework that allows manipulation by the government, we are in threat of becoming a fiat currency again. That is the root of it. That is the root problem, right? And this is why the people who first started talking about Bitcoin were the libertarians, right? They're the people who understood the need for hard, sound money. Cryptocurrency has moved away from that. Cryptocurrency is now just, can I exchange a digital value?
Can I exchange something for something?
Right. We are required to move back to the beginning. We have to.
Right.
We have to. It has to. And that's the first thing that I talk about when I talk about Bitcoin. I don't talk about, hey, I can run the Lightning Network atomic swap with you, and you can run a command line interface, and maybe get a connection to a node so you can write some stupid graphic art on this one website. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is not the point. That is not the point. The point is to build hard, sound money away from centrally controlled systems. Right?
Right.
All right. So I think we covered the robustness, because I think that's the problem. Is you have then a lot of people who then they have their justice warrior inside of them is like, I don't care if you think Dash is security. I'm fighting for this because I don't care. That's fine. Fight for it all you want.
It goes back to Hayek's some sly sneak around.
Yes. He said specifically, I do not believe that we will have a good money unless we take it out of the hands of government. Something like not violently, but we introduce it in a way that they cannot. Right?
Right.
And I think this very much leads us into something that is not... It's new. It's new. Again, this is something we'll be writing on and talking about much more in depth later on. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a very interesting statement. We talked about it in our interview with Craig. He has said a few times that this is a network that he said the Satoshi's vision. I just rewatched it. I've been trying to study upon a few different topics. The Satoshi's Vision Conference, he said specifically, this is the network, this is the military's wet dream. It's a network that cannot be shut down. Right? And he said, and guess what? They didn't make it. They didn't make it. Right?
Uh-huh.
We are in risk of squandering that opportunity. We are in risk of squandering the opportunity to use a network that no matter what anybody around me says, I can send value peer-to-peer to them. Mm-hmm. No matter what. No matter you live on the moon, you live in Asia, you live anywhere. That opportunity is about to be squandered unless we get mass adoption today on Bitcoin. On Bitcoin.
Right.
Not on Dash, not on Ethereum. Because you know why? There are obviously ways where in a situation in Ethereum, my transaction may not go to you. There are ways in Dash where I can see that possible as well.
Right.
That is impossible to happen on Bitcoin because of the competitive mining market.
Yeah.
And that's what really riles me up, as you can tell. Especially, it really riles me up because it there's a reason why Bitcoin Cash people are passionate about this is Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, which it gets a bad rap because of that, because everyone's so passionate about it sometimes. But it's almost like we've wasted, you've talked about this before, we've wasted a bunch of time already. And
at least 2 years. At least 2 years.
That, to me, that reward getting cut in half, that's a ticking, the clock's ticking.
Yep.
We have to succeed at some point.
Yep.
And that's why there's so much urgency now, I think.
And it's even worse because now we have to compete against these other cryptocurrencies. Unfortunately, and I'm not saying that we can't. outcompete them. I believe it's the only thing that can scale. It's the only thing that can scale.
Right.
The problem is you have to change. You have to battle misinformation. You have to battle
exactly, and there's a lot of it out there now. Unfortunately, we've gotten to that point where there's a lot of misunderstanding within the whole cryptocurrency community, and that's why I'm kind of like saying that maybe leave them behind, leave them in the dust. Is it maybe even worth our time even trying to talk to these people and trying to convince them? Yeah, though, we can try.
That's our goal. Our goal is just to be an educational resource, right?
Right.
But is it worth the time? I don't think it is. I agree with you. We're still.
It's almost like the hurdle there is way bigger. Like, I can accomplish more by trying to actually build this in to places that need it, and then, or merchants that want to accept it, merchants that haven't even thought about cryptocurrency yet.
Yeah.
Maybe trying to teach them specifically, instead of having them trying to bring them all into this whole realm of
even better, build applications that are on top of it, that people are using it, they don't even know they're using Bitcoin. But they get a better user experience because it's built on top of Bitcoin.
Right.
That's what we need. We need that today. And that's why I think, huge shout out to Ryan Charles, yours.org. The money button is going to do yours.org already does that today. I've noticed, I really started trying to use it more and more. I mean, it's hard to kind of get out of your habit of the sites you go to and stuff. But more and more better content's being produced on yours.org. In general, just by voting on things, our account was out of money. I just was voting on a few things. I put 50 cents or $1 in it. I was just voting on things. 2 days later, I had $3 in the account. Which, that's insane to me. That's insane. Yeah. And it's something we talked about a little, we don't have to get too into this, but, we were walking around the city and just in the concept of okay, let's say you're a homeless individual, okay? Mm-hmm. Down on your luck and there's not, doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunity around you. You could write a blog post. This was your idea. You're talking about this, right?
You essentially go to a homeless person if they have a phone, which I've actually noticed more and more people are actually, they have something.
Some kind of electronic.
Or at least, or you give them a paper wallet too and say, mm-hmm. Hey, here's this. Go to the library. I challenge you to learn a little bit more about it. And then maybe give them a plug to yours. Say, hey, there's a website out there. You can start day one. You can start making money off of it, off of producing content. You then go to yours, write a blog post about being homeless. And I'm not saying you go to yours and ask for money. Hey, look at me. But maybe you tell your life story, how you got to be homeless, People enjoy good stories. I mean,
that's something you want to read.
And I'm sure as a homeless person, you have fantastic stories too, just in terms of how people treat you out in the world.
Yep.
And people, I would be interested in reading that.
When have they ever been given the opportunity to tell the story and receive payment for it?
They can't.
From anywhere in the globe.
Exactly.
And in microtransactions. And this is, we need to start building these solutions now. And it needs to be, just every time I go to the freaking New York Times and I can't read a freaking article, right? Because they make you pay the subscription. And this is something that Ryan talked about in his CoinGeek presentation. Mm-hmm. If they don't build that in, someone else will, and I will use theirs instead. I will pay per article because I'm not paying a subscription. I don't care about the New York Times. I don't want the whole subscription to the New York Times.
Yeah.
But if there are articles that I want to read, I will pay for them. Mm-hmm. The publications that do that first will win because it's a better user experience. People don't know about it yet. They don't know that the user experience exists. But that's our job. That is our job today to get them onto that, right?
Mm.
And we might have strayed a little bit. I'm not sure, but
Well, I think just the fact that someone can start up day one and start mm-hmm. attaining value that they have right to for putting in the work and producing something of quality.
Yep.
I think, and that's what the free market is all about. I think the fact that you have the right to produce something that is of value to someone else, and without you could get payment for it. And unfortunately, today it's not the same. You can't do that.
Nope.
If, say for example, back to the homeless person, if a homeless person wanted to do that, they could not do that on top of a fiat currency because they would have to somehow probably file some kind of registration that they're going to start accepting money online for this, and then then they have to file all these registrations that like they've essentially started a company where they're producing content, and they would have to file that, And it's like, can they do that?
It's quite frustrating.
They don't have the tools to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's bring it back to the Bitcoin maximism, the robustness, and I think one of the things I want to touch on, why are Bitcoin Cash people so passionate about this is Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And at the root of what we're talking about, it's the ability to create value, exchange value. Really, those are the two things, right? And receive value, I guess, and receive value peer-to-peer.
Actual value.
Peer-to-peer, immediately, no questions asked, no permission needed. Mm-hmm. When BTC, I can't call it Bitcoin anymore, when it turned into just, we're going to overlay this mesh lightning network on top, and now for you to use Bitcoin, you need the permission of centralized hubs. Yeah. That's an insult to what Bitcoin is. It's an insult to any kind of understanding as to why Bitcoin is revolutionary. Right?
It's not.
And if your goal,
it's not Bitcoin
and if your goal is to become this, we're going to exchange altcoins and it's going to be facilitated by. To me, it's just a betrayal of new, good, sound money. Bitcoin isn't a history of e-gold and a history of all these other digital currency experiments. To me, Bitcoin is a continuation of the experiments of the Liberty Dollar, of experiments of trying to move back to gold and silver. People who have talked about having hard money outside of fiat systems. That is at the root of what Bitcoin is about. At the root of what Bitcoin is about is removing, like we talked about previously, the article. And we're going to be, I got to look into the issues around it.
Yeah.
We're going to post the full text of the article onto the blockchain because it needs to be happening. Very hard for you to find the full text of the original Genesis article. I think there's probably some issues with doing that. You can go pay the Times for a subscription and get it, but we still might do it because I think it's important for everyone to read it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do it in a sly way.
Because what everyone does is they say, well, Bitcoin was created out of the, the financial crash. It was a financial crash and everything else. And the bailouts, the bank bailouts, because it said on the verge of another bank bailout. Mm-hmm. The actual article talked about the nationalization of banking, of the government coming in and saying, this is mine now because I say so. I'm taking control of the banking. Right?
Right.
That's the root of what Bitcoin is all about, is not allowing that to ever possibly happen. Ever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I saw, Craig tweeted out a picture of the Times 4 months later. 4 months later, it said taxpayers on the hook for the nationalization effort or something like that. It was like then actually being seriously talked about taxpayers are going to pay for this nationalization effort of the banks or whatever else.
Yeah,
and it was like exactly what Satoshi was probably concerned about. 4 months later, was starting to be talked about seriously by the same publication that published the article that was referenced in the Genesis block. Right.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's get back to the thesis, Bitcoin maximalism.
Yeah.
Okay? So robustness, the technical aspects of it, obviously the robustness of what BTC is trying to become is out the window. It's whether you talk about, we've talked about it, the network topology episode. Again, something I really want to discuss way, way more in depth. We're working on it. We'll get to that later, but from a technological perspective, it's the only thing that's robust to me is Bitcoin Cash.
Right? It is, yeah. Bitcoin Core is strayed away from any kind of... It has lost the strength of the network that was in Bitcoin. And it completely lost that, and therefore it no longer is Bitcoin anymore.
It's...
I reread the white paper last night on my flight over here, and it was like... Just reading stuff, it was like, that is not Lightning.
That's why they want to change
SegWit.
And they change
everything. And you know what? That's completely fine if they want to change it. Okay? But it's not.
You're not
what
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, whether they think that Satoshi Nakamoto was wrong, which I've heard people say, people have that argument that, oh, Satoshi Nakamoto didn't account for this, blah, 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 yada, 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 even though he did. She, them. Like, if you think it's wrong, then you go out and you build something else then. You don't steal what it was.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if I created something else and tried to call it like Ethereum right now, and it was completely different from what it was.
Right.
But this whole Bitcoin core, we're entering into that territory. I don't want to.
I know there's really not necessarily a point, but
basically, there's a definition. It's a dictionary. There's a word, and it has a definition. And what Bitcoin core is now does not match that. It would almost be an antonym at this point.
Did you see? Did you see? Not to get too off topic, but Ryan Charles' interview with Josh Elthorpe, the engineer at Coinbase. Did you watch that?
I listened to a little bit.
It was long. It was over an hour, I think. But he was very impassioned, and I liked it. But he was saying, they always compare Bitcoin to, TCP and all these layers of the internet. And he was like, he got very, very passionate about it. I liked it. But he was like, when have we ever strangled the base layer of a protocol? Like, ever. And he starts talking about, like, for example, most computational languages today are much more computationally intensive than the original computer languages. Mm-hmm. They're only possible to run today because we didn't strangle the capabilities of the base layer. The base layer is allowed to grow large enough to allow these what turned out to be larger programs to run and things like that.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, I would recommend go watch it. Ryan Charles doing a lot of video things. Kind of our
those. I did the data warehouse one. Right?
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Data warehouse and everything. Yeah.
He's kind of our inspiration for moving to video because he was very much like. It was kind of after the CoinGeek conference. He said, and I don't know how much we're going to do. I don't know. We might do the video permanently. We'll see how it works out. You let us know
here and there.
But
we're going to post our audio anyway.
Yeah.
Podcasts and everything.
But he was very much like, get out in front of the camera, like show that you're real people. Because I think that's the other thing is that I think if you're into Bitcoin, there's not really a part of you that wants to. Be
a lot of it is Reddit anonymous people,
so you can yell Bcash and try and hack our accounts.
Yeah. If the person who is trying to get into our account is watching right now, good luck.
Derek McGill said he's been having it. I mean, everyone probably has it if you're remotely famous, I guess. But, not that we are anything really on a blip in the map, but someone doesn't want us to post things on SoundCloud, so we're going to keep doing it. Sorry.
Yeah. Good luck.
Anyway, so, all right.
So, Bitcoin and Max.
Get back.
So, counter-argument is someone could say, well, okay, why can't I be a Dash maximalist then? Why can't I be an Ethereum maximalist?
Yeah.
And to me, this is where we start going down the technical path of legitimately, okay, if you want to be that one maximalist in that realm, are you going to be able to scale to a global level? Mm-hmm. Because you're going to have to scale to a global level if you want it to succeed. That's bottom line.
And I would say actually two things there. Number one, I actually don't know if you hear a lot of Dash maximalists.
You don't actually. Yeah, in fact, actually, that's a good point. That is a very good point.
Even in the Bitcoin Cash community, I think this is a controversial statement. What we found recently, even in the Bitcoin Cash community, saying you're a Bitcoin maximalist is somewhat controversial.
It's almost like you're considered like part of a cult.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Yeah,
if being a fan of hard, decentralized money is being part of a cult, count me in. All right, I'm worshipping every week. You know what I'm saying? And, but you don't actually have a lot of people that are like, well, I'm a Dash maximalist. They say, well, I like Dash the most. Yeah, I'm fine with doing a Lightning Network atomic swap with Ether or belts.
Yeah.
Now, why does Ethereum exist? I don't know. Maybe because people don't understand that Bitcoin is actually a Turing-complete system.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Dash exists because of some, this is what happens when you drink a little bit of beer. Socialist It's socialism. Dash to me is the definition of socialism, but we don't have to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. It doesn't matter.
My issue is the masternodes and Dash.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like a dead end approach. Right. Maybe we shouldn't turn this into Dash. We don't want to turn this into
Good luck to Dash.
A bash Dash.
But you know what? Dash is welcome to compete.
Right. I'm all
As a
for
side
competition.
chain.
I'm all for competition. I don't want anyone thinking that we're saying on this episode that they need to shut their stuff down and join the Bitcoin Cash. They can do whatever they want.
Exactly.
But if you're part of the Liberty movement, I would say, though,
yes,
there has to be some kind of agreement for this thing to succeed.
Exactly.
And we were talking a little bit about it. Like, if you break it down into multiple tribes, you're very susceptible. You're very vulnerable to attack. And that's the problem right now, is everything's so small right now. You might think it's big. We had a big price surge within the past year. Everyone thinks it's relatively big. It's not. It's not yet. You go down the street, you talk to everyone.
Try going down the street, talking to people about Bitcoin, see what they say, and tell me we're remotely relevant today. Right. Yeah.
I mean, so it's still so small. And if you break down into tribes already, at this point, you don't survive long term. That's just bottom line, you won't survive. And that's why we're here today. We're pushing the liberty movement here. Like, I want
anybody in the globe to be able to trade without the permission of a third party.
Right. And I want a quality world, too. I want products that are the best and that are the cheapest, too. Everything...
better outcome.
Competition leads to way better of an outcome. Yep. You incentivize people to build something better. Mm-hmm. And with that also comes a cheaper price, too. Because if someone builds something better and charges it for cheaper, I mean, I would use it. And if they gain that mass adoption, they make money too. Yeah. And if they price it in a wrong way, someone's going to build the same thing and undercut. You know. So capitalists.
So let's take this in a little bit more of an interesting direction. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, right? The biggest thing I've seen leveraged against you is it's almost like you're arrogant for thinking that you have the coin that will succeed. Okay? And that's because what you're saying, of course competition leads to better outcomes. Mm-hmm. So the argument would be a competitive group of blockchains creates the better blockchain, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's true. Okay? But Bitcoin wasn't just a blockchain. Bitcoin was never started as just a blockchain.
Right.
Blockchain, like we talked about in the past, was something started in 2001, a chain of digital signatures. I'm going to keep plugging this book. I've noticed even this book, I know you just were talking about it last night. Go read, and all credit to Craig Wright, he's the one who first brought this up, Peter Wehner's book, Policing Online Games. Go read that book.
Chapter 13, I think.
Chapter 13.
It's called Cash. I almost so tweet, writing in Bitcoin Cash. And then Chapter 13.
Go read that. Go read the book. It's on Amazon. He just found out, I think it was funny, he was saying, once he was on the crypto show when Craig Wright first talked about it, the guy was interviewed a little later than that, and he was like, yes, people started buying my book for some reason. I don't know why they started buying. But he's talking about specifically a security model built around a chain of digital signatures, right? So in a way, none of that was really new, right? None of that was necessarily new.
The way the book portrays it too, it's more of just a lot about cryptography and how you create a fair way to interact with people online in a digital world where you can trust the other person on the other computer.
Right.
Without showing them or giving them enough information about yourself. So, I mean, that book did a pretty good job of kind of laying out the rules. And what they do is, like, in the book, they kind of, like, portray, like, several games and everything, like, how it's, how their current security model is, and then how, like, the problems that it has, and then it, like, brings in a solution to the problem that this game would have. But yeah, then towards the end, they really start plugging the digital cash aspect of it. But and kind of digress a little bit.
No. But the reason why that's interesting is because we talked about it a lot. But there's a local here blockchain group, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all built around. It's all, and they're actually they're gonna have a conference soon. I found that will be around building interoperability around blockchains. Okay, fine, whatever, don't care. They're welcome to keep doing that. I really do not give, But when you go to these things and it's like, obviously the first part of it is that everyone is financially motivated, right? In a way, whether you like it or not. Yeah. If you're a fan of Cardano, you're a fan of whatever.
Which I don't think is necessarily a wrong thing, too.
Sure.
Because obviously you want to create value. Right. You are incentivized to go out and create value. And if you hear about an opportunity that creates value based on historical evidence within the past couple of years, you're obviously enticed to go to these things and have a financial incentive for that.
Right. But the problem is that the best ideas aren't winning right now, is what I would say. The best ideas today aren't winning right now. They may think they're winning, but the problem is that the most financially... I'm trying to think how to word this without necessarily, like, offending people. The things that are very popular right now are the things that are returning the most on an investment, is what I would say.
Yeah.
And I know that's not universally true, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of,
So actually, it's interesting that you say that, and I'll kind of dabble into that while you kind of gain a little more of your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, people reach out to me and they ask me what coin should I invest in, and, like, it's almost like, because they know, like, I'm big into... I'm big into Bitcoin Cash, and they think they kind of assume that I'm big into cryptocurrencies in general, and that I have, like, this portfolio, and I don't. But besides that, though, everyone asks me what small coin should I invest in, because they want to get the one that's small now, cheap, and get it for a better price. And I'm like, hey, look, Bitcoin Cash has it. Like, Bitcoin, Look, I'm a beach boy. I'm a BCH boy, alright? Like, I'm all Bitcoin Cash. But their argument is that it's too big at this point. They're like, oh yeah, well, it's already gone up in price. Granted, that's trailed back now quite a bit. But they're, like, all the big names they don't want to get associated with. They want all the small coins. Which almost to that point, that is poisonous and that is dangerous. Because now you're dabbling into scam territory. You're dabbling with super small markets that could potentially be scams. And to me, that's a huge problem. And this is because they're being ignorant towards the big ones already. Because they just want to get a Lambo for $100. $100 investment.
And the entire space has just become a speculative market where I'm going to get rich. And it's a story I tell a lot, this is a classic story that, Warren Buffett talked about a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know, his saying where he said, as soon as I found out, I think it was during the dot-com bubble, when my taxi driver started asking me for stock advice on the, internet stocks. So that's when I knew it was a bubble, right? And that's when I was going to crash, right?
Yeah.
In December, it was actually the night when Coinbase listed Bitcoin Cash. It was that night. I went out to dinner with some friends, and the waiter, of course, was always, as always, evangelizing Bitcoin Cash. I was obviously happy because the waiter walks by, sees my friend on the Coinbase app, and he goes, "Oh, you You into cryptos? Yeah, I got some Ethereum, and I got a little Litecoin, and like what else?
Litecoin.
And now, in respect, I don't trade or anything like that. In respect, it was like, we got a problem. We got a problem here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got a pretty big problem here. Not that the waiter isn't capable of making but it was just very clear he had just been like, yeah, I'm going to get in on this thing. And now we're at a point, not fortunately, but a lot of that has been weeded out in the past 6 months. Right? Now 6 months in, you're at the point, a lot of despair in even the Bitcoin Cash communities.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people still view this as we're competing with, what was the thing? We're competing with Vertcoin. We're competing with all this. I don't think we are. And that's why with Bitcoin, I don't actually think we're competing with 99% of the cryptocurrencies. I don't think it's even a competition. I think it may be a competition in the speculative market as to what coin is going to gain more value and anything like that. Okay?
Right.
Sure. Whatever else.
But in terms of utility,
if
you look at the transaction volume.
You cannot.
It's small right now.
You cannot send me Ethereum to my phone right now. Right now, you cannot coin text me Ethereum. Right now, you cannot say download this wallet. Boom, bum, bum, boom, boom, done.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Monero, privacy coin. Same thing as we talk about robustness. I'm all for privacy, all for fungibility. What did Kraken just do? The exchange, Kraken, whatever. They just sent in a letter to all the people saying Monero, Dash, all the other things. They're going to start falling under some different Japanese regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to robustness. We've strayed a little bit. Robustness. This is the thing. Do I think Monero has utility? Of course it does. Of course there's utility for a fungible, completely private coin. Okay? But if the protocol itself is built on something that can be brought under a regulatory framework that allows manipulation and control, it is not robust. It cannot be robust at all. Bitcoin, if it's Turing complete, if oblivious transfers can exist, if zero-knowledge proofs can exist, if all of this is possible inside of Bitcoin, you have a system free from control, not able to be put under any kind of a pre-existing regulatory framework, and sound, hard, digital cash.
Sign me up.
Full stop. Nothing stopping us from doing that today.
Yeah.
And that's why we're Bitcoin maximalists.
Yeah.
BCH, Bitcoin maximalists. The only Bitcoin that exists.
BCH, please. This beer's kind of, I don't know if it was because it was super hot out today.
7%.
Yeah.
We're drinking Chicago Revolution Brewing Galaxy Hero. We're Americans. We drink IPAs.
Yeah.
That's not we have a lot of international listeners.
Yeah.
The one thing
IPAs.
America definitely gets right, we put a lot of hops in our beer. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't like that across the ocean, I found, but
IPAs. I just thought about it too because we were talking about, people asking you. I have some Ethereum or whatever they said. Someone actually texted me the other day. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about getting some Ripple. And people have started asking me questions about other coins where I'm like, look, I'll tell you about Bitcoin Cash. All I'm going to say about other coins is look at them. Look at them more in depth how they work. If you're treating it as an investment, treat it as a normal stock that you would normally do that at that point. You would look into that company, see what they have, see how they work, Look, you have every right to invest in whatever the hell you want. Don't ask me. Don't ask me how I think it works. I mean, you have to do that on your own, and you have to figure out on your own, and technically, that's why I'm all Bitcoin Cash. I've come to the conclusion after all the research that I've done, Bitcoin Cash has the technology to be a global currency at one point. And that's what opens up the doors for a complete global free market.
Yep. And we're going to do our best to get there. And if that fails, it'll be a very sad thing to me. If and this is the thing. This is what frustrates me about the success of Blockstream, I would say, is the fragmentation into altcoins. Because we were united, and now we're not. And I think what is frustrating is that I think on the whole, people have the same goal. They have a goal of, I want digital currency free from... They don't know what. They just say, I want a digital currency that allows me to do the stuff that I'm not able to do today. And I think what frustrates me is that, and I understand we're biased, and I could be wrong, Bitcoin as BCH, as cash, is the only way that that's possible. And it's just going to be... What motivates us to step in, like to do this, is just because you want that to exist. And
right.
We're running out of time. We're running out of time, honestly.
Yeah.
And it'll just be it'll be a shame if it fails. And it'll be very easy to point the finger and blame a lot of people. But I don't think we're at the point now where everyone involved in this can't just step up and start to do their part for it, It's not too late, I guess what I'm trying to say, but yeah. I do see the nightmare scenario that is outlined, or we just run out of time. And that'll be a shame. That'd be a shame. Yeah. That's why I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I know that's why,
Right. And I think it gets to the point, too, where, like, what's happening right now in the digital world that we're in right now is, I think freedom and privacy is at a tipping point in our world now. Yep. We have these problems with Facebook and everything, and we're at a point now where it's like we need to be taking this very, very seriously, and it's not being taken seriously. And unfortunately, a lot of every website that you view, everything's being controlled and everything in a way. I don't want to go down the conspiracy route, but in a way, I mean, everyone has a motive that they want to push, and some motives get pushed more than others, and that is a very dangerous thing. Yeah. It's an extremely dangerous thing, especially when you're dealing with like adolescents too, young adults, and this is why we need to start educating people on this stuff, because people need to learn about it now. Because if they don't learn it now, there might be a point later where it's going to be extremely brutal. And I don't know what that brutal point is, but it's going to be brutal. Everything's going to hurt.
And I think to extrapolate that, the reason why Bitcoin is so important to people, the reason why you would be a Bitcoin maximalist, is that you understand how dangerous of a situation we are in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That the fiat systems of today are a ticking time bomb, is what maybe I'm speaking for myself there, but
it's a ticking time bomb. People can disagree with me. I think fiat systems, and I'm not saying everything that's built on top of a fiat system is awful for doing that and everything. Like, I'm not saying like banks are bad, because I think banks actually have like a relatively, whether it's called a bank though at that point, I don't know. I don't know what the logical name for it would be in terms of cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin Cash bank. But in terms of like fiat, I think fiat currencies have a point where it hits a hyperinflationary point, and that's the end.
Yeah.
And everyone talks about like how trying to keep the inflation rate like 2%, but 2%, that extrapolates a lot. And for that to extrapolate, you need everything else to extrapolate as well. Everything to extrapolate as well, so that everyone stays on the same path. Like, if my rent's going to go up that much, then my income better be going up that much as well. And which it's not. It's hard.
And it's impossible to even keep track of that.
You can't even keep it on that same line.
Yeah.
Which, in that point, it starts to build a gap, which we're getting in that right now, where there's a huge wealth gap between people that can't necessarily afford stuff, but they're trying to, so they build credit and everything. It's a very dangerous... fiat systems have a very dangerous ending, and I think we're reaching a point now where we're going to need something else. And I'm to that point where we're going to need Bitcoin Cash to work tomorrow.
Yep.
I don't know when it'll be. It might be 5 years from now when fiat systems start to crumble a little bit. We're already seeing a little bit. The Euro and Brexit and everything.
Italy? Stuff going on in Italy?
Yeah. I mean, we're starting to see signs. And it's... I don't know. We're going to need something. And if you wake up... Yeah.
To make it... Because this needs to be reiterated over and over again. The thesis of this is Bitcoin maximalism. It's the understanding of that is rooted behind Bitcoin. It is not blockchain. As much as people don't want to hear that.
Blockchain was already built.
It's not blockchain. It's not, oh, I'm building a blockchain and this and this. That's not what it's about at all.
Right.
At all. It's about moving away from the ticking time bomb that exists today.
Yeah.
And that's why Bitcoin maximalism isn't something that should be laughed at. It isn't something... And here's the thing. So then everyone that's all into Dash, and I keep picking on Dash, but whatever these other cryptocurrencies are, they probably wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. They would probably say, well, I'm for that too. I don't think Vin Armani would disagree with that. Of course that's what he's for. Of course that's why he's into cryptocurrencies, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is that, okay, we're going to move away from that. We need a system that actually fixes that. We need a system that says, my value is mine. I hold value that exists as my own. And I need to be able to exchange that value without permission, without any possibility of that not being able to occur. Mm-hmm. Dash, if you think the masternode thing is awesome and the pre-mine is good, go for it. I don't care. But if the fact exists that the United States government has the legal precedent, or whoever government, to put it under a regulatory framework that allows them to control it, it is a failure off the bat. An absolute failure. Ethereum, I don't care what the SEC has to say, is under that same boat as well. And Ethereum has way other more socialist problems with it, with the proof of stake crap and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk, I don't want to get into it, but there's way more wrong with it from a perspective of liberty than that anyway. Okay?
Right.
But Bitcoin maximalism is all about what you just talked about. It's all about better money. It's not about this other crap. It's not about blockchain.
It's about actual value being exchanged between people.
Permissionless.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, well, we'll see how it all goes. But I mean, that's the thing. People when I bring that up, people ask me about the timeline. I'm like, I don't know the timeline. No one knows the timeline. No one has any idea. But I can tell you, based on historical evidence, I don't think a fiat system works. And if you're going to keep the rate at 2% all the time of inflation, and you're not, there's actually people, the inflation rate got below 2%. And someone's like, oh, we need to get it back up to 2%. And it's like, what? What? Like, that makes no freaking sense at all.
Yeah.
Like, they're completely ignoring how extrapolation works. And there's going to be a rate where it just hits a hyperinflationary point where things are just freaking chaotic. I mean, no one wants, and I get it, nobody wants to talk about it because it's pretty shitty of a situation.
It just works. I had a conversation with someone much older, actually, so close to retirement, right?
Which kind of scares me too.
But he had an acknowledgement of Bitcoin, knew a little bit about it, knew about cryptocurrencies in general. And, what he said specifically is, I talk about, I think a very basic fact to bring up all the time when I talk about this kind of stuff. If you held $1 over the past century, you would have 2 cents of purchasing power left. Which is scary, right? Mm-hmm. That's scary. The US dollar is a terrible store of value, right?
Exactly.
And he said, yes, but like you just talked about, but my income has gone up.
Your income's gone up. That's a visible number that you see. People have to start getting away from numbers and purchasing.
And how can you as an individual ever guarantee that what the government or whoever, that the inflation rate actually matched your purchasing power? It would be probably nearly impossible to quantify that, honestly. You'd have to. There's way too many variables,
Mhm.
and if you could quantify it, I would probably guess it didn't hold up as much as it should have. Right.
Mhm.
But that was his perspective. That was his perspective that, I've been taken care of by the inflation rate. I've been taken care of by my income going up. Which is fine. But if another '08 happens, which did anything change from '08? Probably not. Now, let's not get into it. Just leave that alone. It's all about Bitcoin maximalism. The root of Bitcoin. Let's wrap it up. Maybe to bring it together, right?
Can I just speak on one more thing about the '08 thing?
Yeah.
So, and '08, I think everyone saw the markets go down and crash, which I think that is possible if this situation to happen that we're saying, that the markets go down a little bit. But I actually think what we need to be more scared about is them going up insanely fast. Because if they go up insanely fast, what does that mean? Is your salary going up that fast? No. If that's where I'm talking more into the gap perspective.
Yeah.
Where you have people that have investments, their value's going up. But the money that you get and you put in your savings account, that's going way down. So if stocks do rise at an insanely fast rate, it looks good on paper. But what does that actually mean when you want to pay rent? What does that mean when you want to go buy coffee? What does that mean when you want to go buy a new shirt?
There's an interesting analog of that to what happened in crypto in December. I don't know how you could analyze that or break that down, but I think that's an interesting analog. Or what did that mean?
I think hyperinflationary is something that people don't really understand.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand all of that. I have no idea. But it is, hyperinflation is a very dangerous thing. And that's the main problem I have with these fiat systems. But yeah. I digress.
Sure. No, maybe we can close the loop there and just say, I think at the root of what we talked about here, Bitcoin maximalism is about using a robust network. Mm-hmm. So from a technical perspective, it's about using a robust network. But more importantly, it's in understanding that Bitcoin is more than just blockchain. And I think that's what the misinformation has succeeded in doing. Mm-hmm. That you have even... I would recommend, honestly, if no one's watched it, when Roger just debated Samson, debate would be a loose term because he really embarrassed Samson Mao on stage. Really, it was, Samson was over there, his hand is shaking, and he's kind of he keeps picking up an empty water bottle to try and drink it. It was very clear. And I've been told Craig Wright was supposed to be on that stage too. And he wouldn't participate. Samson wouldn't participate if Craig was on that stage. If you watch that and you look at it, mm-hmm. his whole thing is that this cannot scale. We must fix it. It has to be done this way that we tell you it has to be done. And we're going to create the plethora. We're going to create a network that allows any altcoin to ever exist. And by altcoin, I think that's almost a disservice to Bitcoin to call it an altcoin. Bitcoin is much more than just a blockchain coin. And that's what all, it is a network capable of far more than we understand.
Efficient network.
Far more than we understand. And it's a financial system that allows free trade to flourish, essentially. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I would say all of the Bitcoin maximalism is, it's an understanding that Bitcoin is something different than a blockchain currency.
Right.
Which is something, as we talked about, Peter Wehner specifically outlined in 2003. Okay? Mm-hmm. It was already there.
Yeah.
It was already there. So then why is Bitcoin different? That's what I would explore people to look at and think about. Right?
Right.
So we're pretty close here to the end of this. But I think we should also plug Purse. We haven't talked about Purse. But we're also, I think the next episode we're going to do as we kick off this season two. We're going to do a post-mortem on and this is probably a nice sequel to this right here. What can I do with Bitcoin today? Obviously we mean as cash Bitcoin. What can I do with Bitcoin today? Where can I spend it? Where can I use it? What can I do with it? So that would range from things like Memo. That would range from things like Keyport, the private messaging application, which, just to pull you real quick, Keyport is a perfect example of Bitcoin acting as a much more valuable network than anyone ever gave it credit for, right? And I think that's where we're going next. We're going to go where applications are being built on this financial network, right? That you don't actually have to. You don't have to know that what you're using actually is currency, right? But you're going to use a network built on value. I think that unlocks something very unknown and powerful, right?
You can't plan it.
So what we're going to do next is maybe outline all that again. I think the last time we did that was about 5 or 6 months ago. So it'd be nice to revisit that and talk about where you can use Bitcoin, what you can do with it. And what we'll do is also talk about Purse. So Purse, we'll give them a plug here at the end here. They've kind of given us a nice little deal for everyone listening and watching here. So you can go to our website, thebchboys.com, and somewhere on the site, we're trying to figure out where we're going to put it, but you should be able to see it in the top right, maybe in the middle right, a button to go to Purse.io, and they're integrating Bitcoin Cash into Purse.io, which I'm really excited about. If you've never used Purse.io, it allows you to, for example, so I can pay in Bitcoin, and today, unfortunately, that's BTC, but I could pay in Bitcoin and say, let's say I want to buy something off Amazon. Let's say it's $200, right? I can actually set a price where in US dollar, I will pay the equivalent of Bitcoin of $100. Might be exaggerating a little bit, but usually about 30 to 50% off. But maybe I'll wait until someone is willing to accept that amount of Bitcoin for what I'm buying, right? And I think that's a great way of selling goods because I'm much more willing. If someone asks me, do you want $15 in Venmo cash, right? Or 13 in Bitcoin, I'm taking the 13 in Bitcoin all day. Right?
Yeah, well, you did it today.
Today we did something very similar to that. Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting way of selling goods. So I think Purse is doing some cool stuff. But today, I think if you go through their own Twitter account, when they launch Bitcoin Cash buying, you'll get $10 off your first purchase, or you get $10 back for your first purchase. If you go to our website, thebchboys.com, click that link, it'll bring you to Purse.io. You'll get $20 back on your first purchase. So they kind of giving you guys something special.
Or listening to us.
Yeah. For whatever reason.
A crappy podcast. If you guys made it to the end, you guys get a little...
Check that. But we'll definitely plug that much more in depth on the next one. And they haven't launched Bitcoin Cash shopping yet, so I know that I think something's a little delayed there, but I know they're working on it. But once they do, I'll be buying a lot of the big purchases that are waiting on because you can't beat 30 to 50% off and paying with Bitcoin. So, at all.
Maybe we'll do like a little tutorial on how to do that too, because in case anyone's listening that's like relatively new to Bitcoin, and they don't know how these things work. We'll go buy. I don't know. We'll go buy something stupid. Yeah, stupid purchase.
I think we'll try and. I think we'll try and, as we revamp here, it might be worth revisiting a introductory. What is Bitcoin Cash? We were still working out the audio kinks. Yeah, with the first episodes there, so it might be interesting for that.
We're getting better though, I think. Yeah. I'm not saying that we're great yet. We definitely have our little small minor problems, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
I think anything else you want to talk about today?
A
little bit beer left. So
you gotta catch up here. I don't know. Well, I've been testing the beta for Electronic Cash, so might want to give them a plug too.
Come to iOS.
Yeah. So I have iOS. I know.
How do you like it?
I'm sure some people are gonna rip me for it, but
how do you
the fact is, we got to get it out to everyone, and a lot of people today have iPhones.
Yeah, it's fine.
but I might switch over.
Don't get defensive about it. Right?
I'm gonna switch over eventually.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do it for like 2 years now. I just haven't done it.
So what do you think about Electron Cash?
It's pretty sweet. Definitely working out like some kinks, but I mean, it's awesome and everything. It's easy to use.
Yeah,
that's bottom line. It has to be easy to use for everyone.
Yeah, and
I do like the functionality of it. Not like me putting in a password every time I want to like log in or make a transaction. It's a little more secure in terms of every time which I could see some people saying like, hey, I don't want to do that every time, but I kind of like it a little bit. You set up a little bit of a security level.
You can set that up on Bitcoin.com too. I should mention that. I actually found that out recently because I swapped phones, and you can set up like a fingerprint to send. So
oh wow, that's pretty nice.
Much better than someone just having access to your app.
Yeah.
So,
but one thing as I've been like testing out all these different like actual wallets on phones is the capability to add other people, which I think is completely underestimated right now. Because everyone's so used to using Venmo or some kind of like mobile banking app where they can easily transfer money to someone else. At the end of the day, it has to be easy to move money to someone else. And one thing that I really like about a lot of these apps is they're creating this interface where you could enter in like usernames and I could add you as a contact. That way I don't have to do... Like, if I'm in another city and, like, hey, you owe me money, send me an address, it's like, or I don't have to, like, scroll back and find your address, you know? That way I could have something, I could put you in as a contact. Okay, I'm going to send Connor $5 right now.
Yep.
Boom. Easy. Like, and all I have to do is hit Connor.
Yeah, yeah. And in Handcash deserves a shout out because they open source their API to do usernames. So do you
we were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, handles.
That's I think that's going to be pretty sweet.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because everyone in Venmo is like, oh, what's your Venmo account?
You have a Venmo username. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's like, what's your Venmo account? All right, like, is this you? And then you find them.
And then you can wait the 3 days to get it from Venmo into your bank account, or
you can pay.
You can use Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Which
is direct. I mean, yeah.
So,
and it's built on a actual value.
It's rooted in
exchange of value. So
not a store of value.
Yeah. But
we'll finish this up. I mean, I got a little bit left here. But yeah, so we'll be ramping up production here. Visit our website. To BCHboys.com. Yeah, we got to sell these cups if people want them. Only if you want them. But, go to our website, BCHboys.com. You can read. We have articles. If you didn't know that, we've written a few articles here.
We need to start getting more articles out, I think.
We're working on it. Yeah, working on it.
We'll do a revamp.
You can email us, bchboys@gmail.com. And stop hacking our accounts.
Whoever's been hacking our accounts, stop it.
Not cool. So,
yeah.
You haven't succeeded yet. You probably won't. So,
yeah,
it's not worth us getting the random emails to password reset.
We've revamped our security system. So, good luck. But yeah,
cool.
Yeah, awesome.
One more left here. Yeah. All right.
It's a fun episode.
Yeah, good stuff.